Welcome to the Cocoa Pod and this webinar presented by Cocoa Town entitled Cocoa is More Than Just Chocolate. Actually, that title is very appropriate for what we do here, as we are trying to create as many products from cocoa as we can. And as you can see behind me, and as we will show you in due course, we have already produced dozens of products, and we intend to continue development as many more as we can imagine and figure out how best to present them. Cocoa is much more than chocolate, and I hope by the time we end this presentation that you will be encouraged to try your own hand at creating more than chocolate bars from the precious bean. Before we look at the actual products, I have to mention the most important part of what we do. We do not only make fantastic tasting products, but all of them are geared towards improving health and taking advantage of the health benefits of cocoa, of which there are numerous. Dark chocolate and cocoa have been shown to be beneficial for human health in different ways. The polyphenols in cocoa, and there are many, including the methyl xanthines that we are familiar with, theobromine and caffeine. But there are many others like proanthocyanidins and catechins, which have antioxidant properties and which show positive effects against several disorders, including cardiovascular disease, inflammation, and cancer. Cocoa polyphenols induce dilation of the blood vessels of the heart, increase nitric oxide concentrations, thus improving the relaxation and function of blood vessels, and decrease the clumping and stickiness of blood platelets. They also decrease levels of low-density lipoprotein cholesterol while increasing HDL cholesterol. They also have anti-inflammatory activity, especially against irritable bowel disease, and inhibit the growth of various cancer cell lines, especially colon cancer derived from IBD. The dilatory effect of cocoa on blood vessels, due to its role in nitric oxide production and as an insulin helper, improves circulation and decreases insulin resistance, leading to better glucose management in diabetics, as well as reduction of blood pressure and protection against dementia and stroke. Research indicates that the cocoa is one of the most beneficial plants due to its abundance of chemical compounds, of which about 380 have been identified. These compounds are not restricted to the bean, but are contained in the pulp, the bean shells, and as well in the actual cocoa pods. Some are psychoactive and act on the brain to improve mood and emotion as well as memory. The best way to consume those active and psychoactive compounds is to consume the raw fruit, including the bitter beans. But of course, no one wants to do that. So various processes are used to extract some of the more important and abundant compounds, including the proanthocyanidins and the catechins. So let's talk about the philosophy of the Cocoa Pod. I founded the Cocoa Pod in the first instance as a research and development entity to show the powers that be how cocoa can be used to generate income and as a tool for the diversification of the economy away from fossil fuel. After all, there was a time when cocoa was king in Trinidad. We were once the third or fourth largest supplier of cocoa beans in the world. But once we discovered oil on our shores, agriculture became a lost child and most of our plantations have gone into disuse. However, much of that infrastructure and knowledge is still resident here, but it is rapidly diminishing. So my little attempt was to demonstrate that cocoa was not just about selling beans or even making chocolate, but that there was a vast untapped potential for the development, or rather the redevelopment of our cocoa industry. A dusting off, so to speak, and a reimagining of what a cocoa industry could look like. So the Cocoa Pod was founded as a sort of mission, and it evolved from there. As I dug deeper into what cocoa was really about, I realized that there were thousands of studies done and patents awarded around cocoa, none of which involved the Caribbean. And I decided to take on the mantle myself of trying to improve on what went before in terms of utilizing the cocoa to the full extent of its potential. It is our philosophy, therefore, as much as possible, that nothing of the precious fruit be discarded. So we have decided to use as much of it as we can, given our limited resources. As such, we have come up with as many ways to use the entire fruit as we can and are constantly looking for other ways we can exploit the health benefits of the cocoa plant. Of course, like anyone else working in cocoa, our first reflex is to produce chocolate. But not just any chocolate. We do not produce what is known as white chocolate because, of course, the many health components of the plant are absent in the fat of the bean from which the white chocolate is made. We also do not produce milk chocolate since the benefits are negated by the casein and dairy fats contained in the milk. But we do produce raw chocolate though from beans that are not roasted, since roasting also reduces the quality of the polyphenols contained in the bean. Of course, we produce chocolate from roasted beans as well. Although fermenting also reduces these compounds, we instruct our farmers to ferment for as short a time as possible to reduce the degradation of the polyphenols. We hope to produce raw, unfermented chocolate in the future once we figure out how to make it palatable. So there has to be a balance between retaining the polyphenols, which also retains that bitter or astringent flavor of the chocolate. We currently produce 4 different chocolate bases from 4 distinct sources. 3 of them are single estate origin and 1 from a single location. That is, all the farms are in the same area, generally bordering each other. The beans are aggregated and fermented and dried by one operator, so they can be treated as a single estate with individual owners. This is our Aripo-based chocolate. Of the other 3, 1 is from one estate in the central area from which we produce our organic range of Bethany organic chocolate. And 2 are from the northern range, 1 from which we source the beans we use exclusively to produce the Cruise line of chocolate bars, whilst our best base originates in the beans from Grand Riviere on the north coast, which beans were voted number 1 in the world at the Salon du Chocolat in 2019. The last time the awards were held before the big COVID pandemic scare. Needless to say, our farmer partners are some of the best and most experienced cocoa farmers on the island with decades of experience between them and can be relied upon to go the extra mile to ensure that we get to use only the best beans anyone can produce. They respect tradition, of course, but are also open to new techniques or ideas that we have come up with, much of which we cannot disclose at this time. Of course, we produce chocolate bars, and in our shop we also make bonbons, cookies, brownies, and chocolate versions of all the sweets that we grew up with. We make chocolate versions of what we call pone, which is a coconut cassava pudding, sugar cake, which is really a coconut cake, peanut brittle, but of course we use chocolate instead of sugar in the peanut brittle. Name it, and we probably have a chocolate version of it. We produce over 30 different chocolate bars in 2 formats, 28 gram and 85 gram. All our chocolate bars, of course, are intended to be healthy as well as great tasting. We do not use any additives such as lecithin. Our chocolate is made from cocoa, organic sugar, and cocoa butter. That's it. We go to great lengths to produce well-balanced flavor bars using ingredients that are known to improve health, but are also prized for their own flavors, such as cinnamon. But many are ingredients solely for their health benefits, such as moringa and guarana. We make our bars from different base chocolates to suit the flavor of the eventual bar, striving to work with complementary flavors that match the flavor profiles of the selected beans. Our bars are either 55% or 65% cocoa, but most are 65%. But we also produce limited quantities of other varieties, like our honey sweetened 80%, our Bethany organic 70%, and our Grand Riviere Grand Cru 70% specialty bars. So we do make what a traditional chocolate maker produces, chocolate base or chocolate bars. But there's so much more to cocoa than chocolate. As mentioned before, the health benefits of cocoa are as important to us as the culinary aspects of chocolate making. Although we strive to produce chocolate that encompasses and retains as much as possible of the healthy aspects of cocoa, we do lose a lot of that in simply processing the beans for chocolate making. As I am also an alternative health practitioner, I decided to exploit as much as possible the health benefits of the cocoa plant while retaining the fantastic flavor, the taste of actual chocolate. But the actual processing of cocoa into chocolate does cause a reduction in some of the polyphenols responsible for the health benefits. So we decided to make other products from cocoa that may retain more of those benefits, and in fact develop what we refer to as cocoa synergy. This is where we pair cocoa products produced by different means together to try and retain as much or as many of the benefits of the raw, unprocessed cocoa bean. For example, in our chocolate liqueur production, the extraction is done with alcohol, but the sweetening is done with an aqueous extract of cocoa made into syrup. So we retain both the alcohol extract as well as the water extract and combine them back together into one product, enhancing the flavor as well as the health benefits. We also try to advise our clients to use our various products in this way. So our recipes for cocktails using our liqueur, for example, are sweetened with either cocoa or chocolate syrups, if sweetener is called for in the recipe. Our cookies are made with cocoa flour, which we will talk about later, but have chocolate added to the recipe and as well are dipped in chocolate before packaging. Things like brownies and cakes made with chocolate can also be sweetened with cocoa syrup or have our chocolate syrup added to the recipe instead of sugar, a sort of double or triple chocolate blast. One of our first deviations from chocolate making was the production of our dip and spread line of chocolate nut butters and chocolate fruit spreads. Our chocolate spreads, dip and spread as we call them, are a combination of either nut butters with chocolate or fruit compotes with chocolate. We produce about 6 different fruit spreads using popular local fruits like mango, passion fruit, pineapple, etc. For our nut spreads, we use either peanut, sesame, or coconut with chocolate. We do not add other oils or anything else actually except for honey in the sesame spread. The nut butter spreads are about 50% chocolate and 50% nuts, while the fruit spreads are 25% chocolate and 75% fruit pulp. Compare that to the 85% oil and sugar in another popular brand. We looked at the popular uses for chocolate other than bars and realized that chocolate syrup was extremely ubiquitous, but we also realized that the most popular US brand does not even use real chocolate. It's artificially flavored. So we decided to make proper chocolate syrup as well as our cocoa syrups. The base of our syrups is organic sugar from Demerara, Guyana, the same sugar that we use in our chocolate. However, our syrups are not just invert sugar syrup but are produced by an aqueous extract of cocoa bean shell to which is added the sugar. Eventually we intend to create a sweetener from cocoa bean pulp, but we are not there yet. In any case, the highly infused cocoa syrups are much healthier to use than plain sugar syrups and are suitable even for diabetics. We make original, light and lime varieties of the cocoa syrup, none of which contain any other preservative or ingredient, except of course the lime variety which contains real lime juice. They have been compared to honey both in taste as well as consistency. Our chocolate syrups are made from our cocoa syrup with the addition of huge amounts of cocoa powder and come as a generic chocolate syrup as well as what we call traditional chocolate syrup, which additionally contains the same spices we use in our traditional cocoa beverage that we and the rest of the Caribbean know as cocoa tea. Of course, we suggest that you sweeten your cocoa tea with cocoa or chocolate syrup, especially if you're a real chocoholic. Another product we make from cocoa bean shell, and incidentally, there are only now studies being conducted on the importance of cocoa bean shell, is our range of teas we call mate de cacao. So it's not to be confused with the traditional cocoa tea, which is really hot chocolate. Our mate de cacao is an English-style breakfast tea. You can drink this all day long. All the benefits of consuming cocoa are in there as well. We make infuser blends either plain or with moringa leaves or dried sorrel flowers, sorrel bean of the hibiscus family. We also make percolated ground blends in original or with cinnamon, sorrel or ginger added for a variety. They are great hot, but on a really hot day can be made into a really cool drink sweetened with our lime syrup. Iced tea with a healthy difference. These teas are fantastic and are really good for your health as they also contain the polyphenols found in the bean. Because of the movement to gluten-free baking, we decided to create a flour from cocoa. Our cocoa flour is not made from cocoa bean shell, although we do make baked goods using some ground bean shell mixed with our cocoa flour. Why? Why not? We have other uses for cocoa bean shell, which I will get to in a moment. Unfortunately, I cannot disclose the process for making the cocoa flour, but it is of course gluten-free. But more importantly, it is real cocoa that you can bake with. So you can make a chocolate cake with cocoa flour and add more chocolate or cocoa powder to it and literally overdose on chocolate. We make a variety of cookies with it, including cinnamon, peanut, ginger, and original varieties, but intend to increase production to create as many different varieties as there are demands for. We do vegan varieties as well. The brownies, muffins, and our food of the God squares are made in-house from our cocoa flour. Part of our development philosophy is the creation or development of new products that could be licensed to other manufacturers for wholesale production. We never really intended to be a big manufacturer, as that is very different kettle of fish and that will compromise our drive to develop products. Two of the products that we knew we would not be producing ourselves is our cocoa liqueur called Esprit de Cacao and the original chocolate bitters from Trinidad. Our liqueur has been described as liquid tiramisu and the best tasting cocoa liqueur around. That's because unlike a popular cocoa liqueur, it is actually made from cocoa and not artificial chocolate flavor. That goes for our chocolate bitters as well. The cocoa liqueur was the first product that we licensed to another manufacturer for production. As mentioned before, our cocoa liqueur is made from an alcohol extract of cocoa, sweetened with an aqueous extract of cocoa from cocoa bean shell to give it a really aromatic chocolate flavor unmatched by any other. It is a smooth rum-based liqueur with 25% alcohol by volume, so it has a nice kick to it as well. It is, however, a healthy alcohol-based product that will not induce headaches or hangovers in the consumer. We like to keep it healthy at all costs. Our bitters contain 6 different digestive herbs as well as cocoa, which is also soothing to the stomach as described before. Our ability to blend flavors enables us to produce a bitter digestive product that is not bitter and can actually be taken as a shot or in cocktails as a flavor enhancer. Try that with competitive products. That brings us to our skincare line. We are very excited about our skincare line, possibly even more so than our culinary production. Why? Because everyone makes chocolate, but the medicinal aspect of cocoa is only now being investigated or exploited. Our skincare line is based on a microemulsion of coconut butter and coconut oil, 2 very compatible fats, which forms the base of much of the line. In our other skincare products that do not use the microemulsion, we use cocoa in place of the cocoa butter. For example, in our makeup remover, body polish, foot scrub and tooth polish, we use varying coarseness of cocoa powder, either from milled cocoa powder or from sieved powder or from bean shell that has been pulverized. The microemulsion base starts off as a body polish, virtually unscented, with the addition of various oils and essential oils to create the beard conditioner and the hair and scalp treatment. We created a sunscreen using the natural 15 SPF of cocoa butter with zinc oxide, but that is not on the market yet, as we need to check to see if it blocks UVB radiation, which we prefer not to do. We know it blocks UVA, which is carcinogenic, but we need as much vitamin D production in the skin as possible, especially in these times of viral spread. So we do not want to block UVB rays at all. The healing balm is exceptional and a testament to the healing power of cocoa butter as well as the essential oils we use. Same goes for our insect repellent. It's the only repellent that keeps off insects but heals and soothes the skin at the same time. Our massage oil contains 33% cocoa butter, so they are not only lubricant but healing as well. They also contain essential oils for calming and stimulating, like peppermint and lavender. About 4 years ago, I was at a forum for entrepreneurs and someone asked me if I made a chocolate toothpaste. That made me think, and I started doing the research on the anti-periodontal property of cocoa. Surprisingly, there were studies done on that as well, and our tooth polish was born. The tooth polish is made from sieved cocoa powder and coconut oil, and we also have a mouthwash in the works using the extract from the bean shell, which has even better antibiotic and antiseptic properties than traditional mouthwashes based on phenol or other chemicals or alcohol, which you do not dare swallow. Our entire skincare line is safe to use, even in the mouth, and all are actually edible, although I would not recommend purposely ingesting the healing balm or the insect repellent, mostly because of the taste, not because they will do you any harm. For the future, we plan to continue developing as many products from cocoa as we possibly can. We are always thinking of ways we can use the plant and the fruit to create other products. For example, the pod contains pectin-like properties that can be used as thickeners in the culinary industry. There's probably a lot more that we have not discovered yet, but we intend to find as many ways to use the precious cocoa fruit as we can. Thank you, thank you, thank you.